Monroe and I are going to read another Bible story for you today. It's called The Present, the story of Abraham and Isaac from Genesis 22.
Hi.
God knew that his secret rescue plan could only work if Abraham trusted him completely. God had to make sure Abraham would do whatever he asked. So a few years later, God asked Abraham to give him a present. Abraham liked giving presents to God. He gave God his animals. They were called sacrifices, and they were a way to say, "I love you" to God. By this time, God didn't want a lamb or a goat. God wanted Abraham to give up something much more. He wanted Abraham to give him his only son. His only son, the son he loved, Isaac. Put his boy on the altar and kill him as a sacrifice? How could God want him to do such a terrible thing? Abraham didn't understand, but he knew that God was his father who loved him, and so Abraham trusted him. Early the next morning, Abraham and Isaac set off. They climbed up the steep, stony trail up the mountain. Isaac carried the wood on his back. His father carried the knife and the coals.
Papa, Isaac said, we have everything except we forgot the lamb for the sacrifice. God will give us the lamb, son, Abraham said. They built an altar and laid the wood on top. Abraham asked his son to climb on top of the wood. Isaac didn't understand, but he knew his father loved him, and so he trusted him. He climbed up onto the altar, and Abraham tied his boy to the wood. Isaac didn't struggle or try to run away. He just lay there and quietly didn't make a sound. Everything was ready. Abraham took the knife. Tears were filling up his eyes. Pain was filling up his heart. His hand was shaking. He lifted the knife high into the air. "Stop," God said. "Don't hurt the boy. I want him to live and not die. I know now that you love me because you would have given me your only son." Abraham felt his heart leap with joy. He unbound Isaac and folded him in his arms. Great sobs shook the old man's whole body. Scalding tears filled his eyes, and for a long time the boy stayed there like that, in each other's arms, the boy and his dad. Suddenly, Abraham saw a ram caught in the rambles, the sacrifice. God had given them what they needed just in time. The ram would die so Isaac didn't have to. And so Abraham sacrificed the ram instead of his son.
And as they sat there on the mountaintop, watching the embers of the fire die in the cool night air, the stars above them sparkling in the velvet sky, God helped Abraham and Isaac understand something. God wanted his people to live, not die. God wanted to rescue his people, not punish them. But they must trust him. One day, someone will be born into your family, God promised them, and he will bring happiness to the whole world. God was getting ready to give the whole world a wonderful present. It would be God's way to tell his people, "I love you." Many years later, another son would climb another hill, carrying wood on his back. Like Isaac, he would trust his father and do what his father asked. He wouldn't struggle or run away. Who was he? God's son, his only son, the son he loved, the Lamb of God. The Bible verse for this week comes from Genesis chapter 22, verse 17. It says, "I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore." Genesis 22, 17a, because it's just the first part of verse 17. And remember, descendants, we talked about that last week. Descendants are just Abraham's children and his children's children and everybody that comes after him and his family. So let's read it together one more time. "I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Genesis 22:17a. This week, our activities include a mini book for nursery and preschool families and a maze with fill-in-the-blanks for our elementary families. Both of these activities highlight the events from Genesis 22, but more importantly, show that God provided a way for Isaac to live. Another sacrifice was made in his place, and another sacrifice, God's Son Jesus, was made in our place. The mini book for our nursery and preschool children can be left black and white or colored in by you or your child. It will make a great addition to your bookshelf at home. The next step will be folding it into a book. You will want to fold each sheet down the middle on the short and long sides so that the pictures face out. Once both pages are folded in fourths, you will want to place the pages with Sarah holding baby Isaac inside the pages with the title, like so. To finish the book off, you will want to secure the pages in place. You can staple the pages together if you have an extended stapler, or just simply tie a ribbon or piece of yarn around the center of the book. Abraham and Isaac. God told Abraham he was going to have a son even though he was really old. After a while, Abraham's wife Sarah had a son and they named him Isaac. Abraham and Sarah loved their son, but God told Abraham to give his son to him. Abraham loved God, so he took his son up to a mountain to give him to God. Abraham was about to sacrifice his son to God, but God told him not to hurt his son. God gave Abraham a ram to sacrifice instead. The maze with fill-ins for our elementary school children can also be colored in first or left black and white. By starting at the bottom of the mountain and following the maze up the top, writing the letters in the blanks as they go, they will answer the question, why was Isaac not sacrificed?
God told Abraham to go to a mountain and offer his son Isaac as a sacrifice. Abraham obeyed, but God stopped him from hurting Isaac. Follow the maze up the mountain to find out why Isaac wasn't sacrificed. G-O-D. That spells God.
Evie started the maze off for you. Now it is your turn to finish the maze to find the answer.